everybody, hope you're all well. We're going to be looking at the Hemi today. We're going to be looking at the head race bearings, replacing the head race bearings, and possibly having a look at the swing arm. See what state that the bearings are in that. Right, so we'll start off with these two little bolts here, which hold the fuel tank on at the back. Right, lift the tank up and it partially come out of the front mountings, which are two bits of rubber basically. So I'll prop it up like that, which gives me access to the various connectors under here. So the first one you'll see is this little beauty, and that's your fuel pump there. So we'll pull that out. Got to watch if any fuel comes out. Be a little bit careful. Just a little rag under there, perhaps, just to catch any fuel that might drip out. And then behind that you've got another plug here. I don't know if you can see that, and that's your. Oh, there you go. That's your power to your fuel pump. So that's what makes your fuel pump basically. And then we'll go round the other side, and we've got that blue connector there is your fuel sender. So that tells you, obviously gives you an idea of, there you go, gives you an idea of how much fuel you got in your tank. So that sends the information up to your dash. Right, so that's your three connectors undone. So what we'll do now is we'll just pull the fuel tank off. Read me a bit of wood, grab the back of the tank. It always helps if you run your fuel tank down first, don't have too much fuel in it. Makes the tank obviously lighter. So anyway, you give it a pull, and it should, there you go, disengage from the front mounts. There's two rubber grommets there, round rubber lugs, one each side, and they fit into those little horseshoe shaped brackets, so it just pushes on basically, if you've ever wondered how your fuel tank comes off. But yeah. Right, bearings. I bought the bearings. There they are, for the head race. So we're going to be stripping these forks out. Wheel off, forks out, and then dropping the 40 oaks. So there you go, there's the front mud guard, including my little invention. It's the lower mud guard. There you go. There's your mud guard off. And the mud guard brace. Next thing is brake hose bracket, retaining bracket. So we'll just take that off. And it's the same the other side for the speedo cable. That's your brake hose obviously, and this here clamped on is your ABS sensor wire. There you go. So that's your sensor. What you want to check for with your Hemis, with your BS4s, I think they might have rerouted them slightly different on the BS5s, but when your front forks dive, when you've got your front brake on, this hose here can almost like crease, and after a while the plastic, it happened on this one, the plastic covering splits, and then eventually your actual braided hose inside will crease and split. And there's been a few incidences of people not realising, and then after a while the hose actually creases, so the plastic split, the braid creases, and the fluid can't get back to the master cylinder, so basically it jams your front brake on. That happened to a friend of mine, and there's a few other incidents I've heard of. Royal Enfield replaced the hoses that were affected, including mine, so this is a new hose, under warranty, but it was an issue. I don't think they do it now. I think the BS4 is better, but it was the way there was too much slack on this cable, so it needed to be a little bit straighter. Right, over to the other side now. So here's your wheel spindle. We've taken that bracket off there. That's your speedo drive, so that's obviously attached to that. So you've got an Allen bolt that clamps the fork leg onto the spindle, so we'll be taking that out first. Put my glasses on so I can see what I'm doing. There we go. There we go. There you go, and there's your speedo drive, and there's two ears on this here that slot into the ears on the wheel on the hub. So we'll hook that speedo drive round, and there you go, pull the wheel out. There's a space on the other side that fits in there, so always remember the spacer. So anyway, let's get rid of the wheel. So what we got, we've got two bolts at the top, look, I don't know if you can see those, here, can you see them in there? So there's your top fork bolts, two top fork yoke bolts, and we got your two bottom ones. So we're going to slacken those off, and then hopefully the fork leg will just drop out, pull straight out. There you go. We got enough length on it to get it completely out. Yes, that's a good thing. I thought it was going to hit the bench for a minute. So there's your fork leg anyway. One. Oh, two. Slipping out the yokes. So this is what we're left with. Oh, you can feel the notchiness when you turn this now without the forks in. You can feel the notchiness of those bearings. So right then, so the next thing we got to do is have the handlebars off. So what we're going to do now, take the ignition key out. We're going to undo these 4 bolts, handlebar clamp, handlebars out of the way, and then take this top yoke off. Now these can be lifted out of the way, stuck up there, like that. That's what I do. Then, next step is my big spanner. I carry this all the time in the tool pack because these nuts on this one, and I know there's a few others, I'm not saying they all do it, but they are. Right, now they do tend to come loose. Now I've just spotted something, and you know what I was saying about brake hoses, and they were creasing and splitting. Right, we'll have a look at this. Right, you know I was talking to you about you got to keep an eye on these brake hoses on the radius where the forks, obviously there's movement in the forks, the brake hose flex, and there's been a few incidents of the plastic cracking and the inner braiding creasing and jamming the brakes on, so you've got to check those. Well, I've just had the handlebars off, and I've just literally decided to put them back on to show you this, because I've got a similar issue and I ain't very happy about it. I'm not very happy about it at all. This is quite serious. And I think it's all down to routing the cables. Anyway, let's just do this up. But then I can demonstrate, because I've just spotted this. Right, okay, so I don't know if you can see this, but that's your bloody brake cable coming out of your master cylinder, and as you can see, the braids split. And the reason why it's split is because when you steer, you can see the movement, and you see the movement in the cable. Can you see what the cable's doing? And that's what it's doing, it's eating itself. So let's go around this side and see what they've done, shall we? Because it's annoyed me, because it's dangerous. So here we go, look. That's how they've routed this. There's your cable. Comes up from your ABS block. It's an absolute pig's ear with all these ABS things, because you've got hoses running everywhere. But it comes up to here, and then there's a very tight radius here, and with the movement of the handlebars, the cable is gnawing itself. The cable's basically split. Yeah, look, see what's happening, look. There's the movement in the cable. So, everybody, if you've got an Enfield Hemi, check those brake lines. Right then, well, after that little discovery, we'll get back to the head race bearings. yeah, for whatever reason these nuts, they back off. They do on this one. Right, so then this will just lift off like so. There's your ignition barrel under there. So we'll just leave that like that. Just leave that up there. And then we've got this, the actual yolks, or the yoke stem, and the bottom yolks are retained by this one nut. Like I was saying in the earlier vlog, a lot of the Jap bikes would have a double lock nut there, which would make double sure that this wouldn't loosen off. But anyway, we've got to undo that. I'm just going to tap that round just to loosen it off. As you unscrew this top nut, I can show you. There you go. This unscrews. And as I'm unscrewing it, you can see the bottom yoke dropping. But I don't want to unscrew it that far that the damn thing falls out the bottom of the frame. Right the way off. There you go, there's that nut off. And then this stem and now drop down through. And you can see that the yoke's coming down through. Oh, look at the state of that. That's rust. So we'll put those on there. And we'll have a look at those in a bit. And then back over. Take that cap off, that's a seal. Now I think this works for the top, but the trouble is you've got is the bottom seal which doesn't work, and that is this seal here. It's not particularly brilliant, so I'll be looking into that as well. I think I've got a different seal for it somewhere. Right, that's your top seal. There you go. So we take that off. We just lean that on there a minute, and then your bearing. This is your inner race, what they call the inner race, tapered race. That pops out, and there you go. That looks all. That I don't think there's any water ingress on that whatsoever. So I might get away with not having to replace that, but you might as well place both of them. That looks alright. And on this one, yeah, you can see some marks. There's a couple of bearings that were corroded. So that's what those marks have been made of. So this has to come out. So we're going to take this one out. So, like I say, there's the top bearing we took out. We'll just clean it off, have a little look at it. That's fine. There's no marks on that at all. It's not rusty. There's no marks on the top race. Now we'll have a look at this thing. Clear all this gloop off. Right, let's get the light and we'll have a look at this. Yeah, this is graunching, and you can see, get a light on it. There's a couple of these that are corroded. See, and that's what's made those marks on the outer race. Right then, I've removed the bearing from the bottom bearing from the triple tree, or the yoke, which is, this is what we're looking at. Now that would have been that would have sat on there like that. Now what I've done is I've chiselled the outer case out, the outer bearing housing, so this is made of basically tin retaining these bearings, and then you're left with this, which is the inner part of the bearing, that bit. That's what you're left with. So there it is. Once your outside casing's gone, you're left with that. And there's a little lip. I don't know if you can see this lip, just there. And what I did, I managed to get this chisel. I put this thing in the vise, and I managed to get a chisel, and with the hammer, just knocked it off, knocked it up, and hey presto, that's your bottom bearing removal. Now that's quite a difficult one. And there's your seal there. So what I'm going to do with this is the old top bearing. I'm just using this for demonstration purposes, but anyway, so that'll fit on there. The new one will go down into there, and then you just lock it into place, and it'll sit on top of the seal. Now this seal they're not particularly very good seals. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a waterproof grease this time on when I reinstall it. What does this say? Fag. There you go. X-Life. The quality, but I'm assured by the bearing suppliers that they're good quality bearings. They're made in Vietnam. The original bearings. There you go, made in India. So, India, Vietnam, you take your pick, don't you? I did have a set of German bearings at one point. One of the sets I put in were German bearings, and besides it making an iota of difference, they still went rusty. This is the bloody seal. Okay. Anyway, now we've got to get these out. So we're going to lower the bike down. So we can get a drift up in there. We'll knock that top one out. So we'll use this. I'm going to stick it up through there. And we're going to get it under that edge all the way around and knock this bearing out. Yeah, there it goes. There you go. So there's your bottom race. I've just knocked it out. That's come out of there, and there you can get there. You can see all the corrosion. That's just rough as hell. The surface has gone. That's started to wear there. It's gone there. So it's not good. So that's trash. Right, that's the new race installed. Oops. Secret to this is putting the races in the fridge. Put them in the freezer, and obviously they contract. That's the theory anyway. They contract, and very easier to put in.
families of Israeli hostages have called for
There you
a
go.
general strike to try to...
Right then, fork stem goes up through there, bearings locate, those bearings go down in there, so that's your top bearings in, followed by your bearing cover. Can't see. There's your bearing cover. There's crap everywhere. That's the only thing with it being white. And then there's your nut, your lock nut. So screw that down on there. Right. What I've done, I'll put a little bit of Loctite, red Loctite on there, just to stop this backing off, because like I say, this nut, normally on the Japanese bikes you'd have a double nut on there, a lock nut on top of this to stop it backing off, but you haven't got that on this. So I've just put a little bit of Loctite on there, rightly or wrongly. You've got to feel this one in. See, that's all right, there's no play in that. If you do these up too tight, they're graunch up, so you've got to have just about right, and you can feel there's no play in that whatsoever. You can feel the grease in there, so we'll leave it at that. That I do. So there you go. So that's your bearings installed. Bottom and top. I'm using waterproof grease this time, so we'll see how it works. Okay, so now headstock, top yoke, that can locate back onto there. And the theory is that that holds that nut tight. When you tighten your big nut down, this nut, that pushes on this, holds that down, stops that backing off, but it's not brilliant, is it? Right, I'm going to stick a little bit of Loctite on this as well. Only reg Loctite, it's nothing, sorry, purple Loctite. It's not that strong. It just holds everything in place. So, that on. And we just tighten that down. We'll leave that a little bit loose until I've got the fork legs up in. So we'll start off with the left hand fork leg. And that goes round that way. You line them up with the top. And up we go.